In this video, we delve into the intriguing topic of common myths surrounding the founding of the United States, a subject that often sparks debate and discussion. Many people hold misconceptions about the events and figures that shaped the nation, leading to a skewed understanding of American history. For instance, the belief that the Founding Fathers were universally united in their vision for the country overlooks the significant disagreements and diverse perspectives that existed among them. Additionally, the portrayal of the American Revolution as a purely noble endeavor often glosses over the complexities of the time, including issues of slavery and the treatment of indigenous peoples. By addressing these myths, we aim to provide a clearer picture of the historical context in which the United States was established. This video is designed to be both engaging and informative, inviting viewers to question long-held beliefs and explore the nuances of history. Understanding the truths behind these misconceptions is crucial for fostering a more accurate national identity. When we recognize the multifaceted nature of our past, we can better appreciate the struggles and triumphs that have shaped our nation. This deeper understanding not only enriches our knowledge but also encourages critical thinking about the values and principles that continue to influence American society today. As we navigate through these myths, we will highlight key events and figures that played pivotal roles in the founding of the United States, providing context and clarity. By the end of this video, we hope to inspire a renewed interest in American history and a commitment to uncovering the truths that define our national narrative. Join us as we embark on this enlightening journey, challenging misconceptions and celebrating the rich tapestry of our nation's founding. Together, we can cultivate a more informed perspective that honors the complexities of our history while shaping a more unified future. One prevalent myth is that the United States was founded as a Christian nation, but this assertion requires careful examination. It is essential to differentiate between a Christian nation, which implies that the government is explicitly based on Christian principles, and a nation with a Christian majority, where most citizens identify as Christians but the government remains secular. The United States, while home to a predominantly Christian population at its founding, was established with a framework that emphasized religious freedom and the separation of church and state. This secular foundation is clearly articulated in key documents such as the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment explicitly prohibits Congress from establishing a religion or restricting the free exercise of religion, underscoring the intention to create a government that does not favor any particular faith. Founding figures like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were vocal proponents of this secular approach. Jefferson famously advocated for a wall of separation between church and state, emphasizing that government should not interfere in religious matters. He believed that faith should be a personal choice, free from governmental influence. Similarly, John Adams expressed the importance of religious liberty, stating that the government should not dictate religious beliefs or practices. These perspectives highlight that the founders were not aiming to create a Christian nation but rather a pluralistic society where diverse beliefs could coexist. By understanding these historical truths, we can better appreciate the intentions behind the founding of the United States. The myth of a Christian nation oversimplifies the complexities of American identity and undermines the foundational principles of liberty and equality. Recognizing the secular roots of the U.S. government allows us to honor the diverse tapestry of beliefs that have shaped the nation, fostering a more inclusive understanding of what it means to be American. This nuanced perspective is vital for promoting unity and respect among citizens of varying faiths and backgrounds. A common belief is that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were entirely new ideas, but this perspective overlooks the significant influence of earlier political philosophies and Enlightenment thinkers. Figures such as John Locke and Montesquieu played pivotal roles in shaping the thoughts and principles that guided the Founding Fathers. Locke's theories on natural rights, particularly the concepts of life, liberty, and property, directly informed the Declaration's assertion that individuals possess inherent rights that governments must protect. His idea that government derives its authority from the consent of the governed laid the groundwork for democratic principles that are central to American governance. Montesquieu's work on the separation of powers further influenced the framers of the Constitution, as he argued for a system of checks and balances to prevent any one branch of government from becoming too powerful. The Founding Fathers did not create these concepts in a vacuum. Rather, they built upon existing political philosophies that had evolved over centuries. They synthesized ideas from various sources, including ancient Greek and Roman thought, British constitutionalism, and Enlightenment ideals, to craft a government that reflected their aspirations for liberty and justice. This interconnectedness of historical ideas is crucial to understanding the founding generation. The framers were not merely reacting to their immediate circumstances, they were engaging in a broader intellectual tradition that sought to address the challenges of governance and human rights. By recognizing the influences that shaped the Declaration and the Constitution, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity of American political thought. The founding documents were not revolutionary in isolation but rather a culmination of centuries of philosophical discourse. This understanding highlights the importance of historical context in evaluating the origins of American democracy. It reminds us that the principles enshrined in these documents are part of an ongoing conversation about governance, rights, and the role of the state in society, one that continues to evolve today. To fully understand the American Revolution, it is essential to clarify the timeline and events leading up to this pivotal moment in history. The significance of events prior to the Declaration of Independence cannot be overstated, as they laid the groundwork for the colony's eventual break from British rule. Tensions began to rise in the early 1760s, following the French and Indian War, when Britain sought to recoup its war debts through a series of taxes imposed on the colonies, such as the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts. These measures ignited widespread protests and the rallying cry of "No taxation without representation," highlighting the growing discontent among colonists regarding their lack of political voice in Parliament. Defining the exact start of the Revolution is complex, as it was not a singular event but rather a series of escalating conflicts and actions. The Boston Massacre in 1770 and the Boston Tea Party in 1773 were critical flashpoints that galvanized colonial resistance. The Intolerable Acts of 1774, which were punitive measures enacted by Britain in response to the Tea Party, further united the colonies against perceived tyranny. The First Continental Congress convened in 1774, marking a significant step toward collective action and cooperation among the colonies. The push for independence was gradual, evolving over time as colonists became increasingly frustrated with British policies and governance. Initially, many sought reconciliation and reform rather than outright independence. However, as events unfolded and the British response grew more oppressive, sentiments shifted. By the time the Second Continental Congress convened in 1775, the conflict had escalated into armed resistance, with battles at Lexington and Concord marking the beginning of open warfare. The Declaration of Independence, adopted in July 1776, was the culmination of this gradual process, reflecting the colony's transformation from subjects of the British Crown to a unified entity asserting their right to self-governance. Understanding this timeline and the complexities involved helps illuminate the motivations and aspirations of the American colonists as they embarked on their quest for independence, setting the stage for the birth of a new nation. A common misconception is that the American Revolution was primarily about preserving slavery. However, this oversimplifies the complex motivations behind the conflict. While the institution of slavery was indeed a significant aspect of American society at the time, the revolution was driven by a multitude of factors that extended far beyond the preservation of this system. The desire for self-governance, economic independence, and resistance to British imperial policies were central to the colonists' motivations. Many colonists were inspired by Enlightenment ideals of liberty and equality, seeking to establish a government that reflected these principles and allowed for greater autonomy from British rule. Additionally, the role of indigenous populations during this period cannot be overlooked. Native American tribes were deeply affected by the conflict, as they sought to protect their lands and sovereignty amid colonial expansion. Many tribes formed alliances with either the British or the American colonists, hoping to secure their interests in the face of encroaching settlers. The complexities of these relationships illustrate that the Revolution was not solely a struggle between colonists and Britain but also involved indigenous peoples navigating their own challenges and aspirations. To clarify the historical context of slavery during the Revolutionary War, it is important to recognize that the institution was deeply entrenched in the economy and society of the Southern colonies. While some revolutionary leaders, such as Thomas Jefferson, expressed ideals of freedom and equality, they simultaneously owned enslaved individuals, reflecting the contradictions of the time. The war did lead to some changes in attitudes toward slavery, with both the British and American sides offering freedom to enslaved people who fought for their causes. However, The immediate aftermath of the Revolution saw the continuation and even expansion of slavery in many areas. In summary, while slavery was a significant issue during the American Revolution, it was not the sole motivation for the conflict. The Revolution was a multifaceted struggle for independence, shaped by a variety of social, political, and economic factors, as well as the involvement of indigenous populations, all of which contributed to the complex tapestry of American history. The idea that a distinct American identity emerged during the Revolution is a nuanced topic that requires careful examination. Initially, many of the Founding Fathers viewed themselves primarily as Englishmen rather than as Americans. They identified with British culture, legal traditions, and political systems, believing they were entitled to the same rights as English citizens. This perspective was evident in their grievances against British rule, which they framed as violations of their rights as subjects of the British Crown. The desire for representation and self-governance was rooted in their identity as Englishmen, reflecting a loyalty to British ideals rather than a fully formed American identity. However, the Revolutionary War catalyzed a gradual shift in this mindset. As the conflict progressed, the colonies began to forge a sense of unity and shared purpose, driven by the common goal of independence. The experience of fighting together against a common enemy fostered a growing sense of nationalism. The Declaration of Independence, with its emphasis on universal rights and the notion of a collective American identity, marked a significant turning point. Yet, this emerging nationalism was complex and multifaceted. It was not a straightforward transition from colonial subjects to a unified American people. Rather, it involved various regional identities, cultural differences, and social hierarchies. Post-revolution, the development of American nationalism continued to evolve, influenced by factors such as the establishment of a new government, the drafting of the Constitution, and the ongoing debates about the role of federal versus state power. Figures like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin played crucial roles in promoting a sense of national unity, but the complexities of identity persisted. Issues such as slavery, indigenous rights, and differing regional interests created divisions that challenged the notion of a singular American identity. In summary, while the Revolution was a catalyst for the emergence of a distinct American identity, it was a gradual and complex process. The founders' initial identification as Englishmen, coupled with the diverse experiences and perspectives of the time, contributed to a multifaceted understanding of what it meant to be American. This evolving identity would continue to shape the nation in the years to come, reflecting the ongoing struggle to define the ideals and values that underpin the United States. The notion that the American Revolution was a conservative movement is a misconception that overlooks the radical changes it instigated in both American society and governance. While some may argue that the Revolution aimed primarily to preserve existing rights and privileges, it fundamentally transformed the political landscape by challenging the established order. The Revolution dismantled the British monarchy's authority and rejected the idea of hereditary rule, paving the way for a new form of governance based on democratic principles. This shift was radical in its assertion that power should derive from the consent of the governed, rather than from a monarch or aristocracy. Moreover, the Revolution catalyzed significant social changes, including the questioning of traditional hierarchies. Although the preservation of elite power was evident in the post-revolutionary period, as many of the Founding Fathers were members of the colonial elite, the establishment of a republic marked a departure from the previous systems of governance. The creation of a government that emphasized popular sovereignty and individual rights represented a significant break from the past. The ideals articulated in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution laid the groundwork for a society that aspired to equality and justice, even if these ideals were not fully realized for all groups at the time. The global impact of the American Revolution further underscores its radical nature. The success of the colonies in overthrowing British rule inspired revolutionary movements worldwide, challenging existing empires and monarchies. The principles of liberty and self-determination echoed across Europe and Latin America, leading to uprisings and the establishment of new republics. The American Revolution served as a beacon for those seeking to challenge oppressive regimes, demonstrating that a populace could successfully fight for their rights and reshape their governance. In summary, while the American Revolution did involve elements of preserving certain elite interests, it was fundamentally a radical movement that sought to redefine governance and societal structures. The changes it brought about, both domestically and globally, highlight its revolutionary character, challenging the notion that it was merely a conservative endeavor aimed at maintaining the status quo. Challenging the belief that the U.S. Constitution is without flaws requires an examination of the compromises made during its drafting, the critiques from the anti-federalists, and the significance of the amendment process. The Constitution was born out of necessity and negotiation, with the Founding Fathers often making difficult compromises to achieve consensus among the diverse interests of the states. For instance, the Great Compromise balanced the needs of both large and small states by establishing a bicameral legislature, while the Three-Fifths Compromise addressed the contentious issue of slavery in a way that many today view as morally problematic. These compromises, while essential for creating a functioning government, also introduced inherent contradictions and tensions that would later manifest in various forms of inequality and injustice. The existence of the Anti-Federalists further underscores the notion that the Constitution was not universally accepted as flawless. This group, which included prominent figures like Patrick Henry and George Mason, voiced significant concerns about the potential for centralized power and the lack of explicit protections for individual rights. They feared that the new government could become tyrannical, undermining the very liberties the revolution sought to secure. Their critiques led to the eventual adoption of the Bill of Rights, which addressed some of these concerns but also highlighted the initial shortcomings of the Constitution itself. Moreover, the Constitution's framers recognized that their work was not perfect and intentionally included an amendment process to allow for future adjustments. This process underscores the understanding that the Constitution would need to evolve over time to address emerging issues and societal changes. Amendments such as the 13th, 14th, and 19th reflect the ongoing struggle to rectify the flaws and limitations of the original document, particularly regarding civil rights and equality. In summary, the belief that the U.S. Constitution is without flaws overlooks the complexities of its creation, the valid critiques raised by the Anti-Federalists, and the importance of the amendment process. Acknowledging these aspects allows for a more nuanced understanding of the Constitution as a living document, one that continues to adapt to the needs and values of an evolving society. A common misconception is that the founding figures of the United States represented the entire population, but this view fails to account for the demographics of the founding generation and the significant limitations in representation at that time. The Founding Fathers were predominantly white, wealthy, landowning men, many of whom were educated in elite institutions. This narrow demographic did not reflect the diverse makeup of the American populace, which included women, enslaved individuals, indigenous peoples, and lower-income citizens. As a result, the perspectives and interests of these groups were largely excluded from the foundational discussions and decisions that shaped the nation. The lack of representation for various groups in early America is a critical aspect of understanding the limitations of the founding generation. Women, for instance, were denied the right to vote and participate in political discourse, relegated to the domestic sphere. Enslaved individuals were considered property and had no legal rights or voice in the political process. Indigenous peoples faced displacement and violence as settlers expanded westward, and their sovereignty was largely ignored in the formation of the new government. Additionally, many white men who did not own property were also excluded from the political process, highlighting the restrictive nature of early American democracy. However, the evolution of democracy in the United States over time has been marked by a gradual expansion of rights and representation. The struggles for abolition, women's suffrage, and civil rights have played pivotal roles in reshaping the political landscape. Amendments to the Constitution, such as the 15th and 19th, aimed to rectify some of the initial exclusions by granting voting rights to African American men and women, respectively. The ongoing fight for equality and representation continues to this day, as movements for LGBTQ+ rights, voting access, and social justice seek to address the historical inequities that persist. In summary, while the founding figures laid the groundwork for American democracy, they did not represent the entire population. Recognizing the limitations of their demographics and the lack of representation for various groups is essential for understanding the complexities of American history. The evolution of democracy in the U.S. reflects a continuous struggle to expand rights and ensure that all voices are heard in the ongoing pursuit of a more inclusive society. Addressing the conspiracy theories surrounding the Founding Fathers and Freemasonry requires a careful examination of the actual involvement of Freemasons during the founding era, as well as a critical look at the dangers of conspiratorial thinking and historical interpretation. Freemasonry was indeed a prominent social organization in the 18th century, and several key figures among the founding fathers, including George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Paul Revere, were members. Freemasonry emphasized ideals such as liberty, equality, and fraternity, which resonated with the revolutionary spirit of the time. However, the notion that Freemasonry played a secretive or controlling role in the founding of the United States is largely exaggerated and often rooted in unfounded conspiracy theories. These theories can be dangerous, as they tend to oversimplify complex historical narratives and promote a distrust of established historical facts. Conspiratorial thinking often leads to the belief that historical events are the result of hidden agendas rather than the product of multifaceted social, political, and economic factors. This mindset can distort our understanding of history, reducing the actions and motivations of historical figures to mere plots and schemes. Such interpretations can undermine the rich tapestry of human experience that shapes our past, leading to a fragmented and inaccurate view of history. Emphasizing the importance of evidence-based history is crucial in countering these conspiracy theories. Historians rely on primary sources, documents, and credible scholarship to construct narratives that reflect the complexities of the past. By examining the context in which the Founding Fathers operated, we can better understand their motivations and the influences that shaped their decisions. While Freemasonry was a significant social force, it is essential to recognize that the founding of the United States was driven by a wide array of factors, including Enlightenment ideals, economic interests, and the desire for self-governance. In summary, while Freemasonry did have a presence among some of the Founding Fathers, the conspiracy theories surrounding its influence are largely unfounded. A commitment to evidence-based history allows us to appreciate the complexities of the founding era without succumbing to the oversimplifications of conspiratorial thinking. Understanding history through a critical lens fosters a more nuanced appreciation of the past and the individuals who shaped it. Challenging the oversimplification of the causes of the American Revolution is essential for a comprehensive understanding of this pivotal moment in history. While taxation and representation are often cited as primary catalysts for the conflict, the reality is that the revolution arose from a multifaceted array of reasons that extended far beyond these issues. The imposition of taxes, such as the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts, certainly fueled discontent among the colonists, who felt that they were being unfairly taxed without adequate representation in Parliament. However, this financial burden was only one aspect of a broader set of grievances that included economic restrictions, trade regulations, and the growing desire for self-governance. The complexity of colonial grievances against British rule cannot be overstated. Many colonists were frustrated not only by taxation but also by the perceived erosion of their rights as English subjects. The British government's increasing interference in colonial affairs, exemplified by the Intolerable Acts, heightened tensions and fostered a sense of collective identity among the colonies. Additionally, the influence of Enlightenment ideas about liberty, individual rights, and the social contract played a significant role in shaping colonial attitudes toward governance and authority. These philosophical underpinnings encouraged colonists to question the legitimacy of British rule and advocate for their rights. Emphasizing the importance of understanding history in its full context is crucial for grasping the complexities of the American Revolution. The conflict was not merely a reaction to specific policies but rather a culmination of long-standing tensions and evolving ideas about governance, rights, and identity. By examining the revolution through a broader lens, we can appreciate the diverse motivations that drove individuals and groups to take up arms against British authority. In summary, the causes of the American Revolution cannot be reduced to a simple narrative of taxation and representation. Acknowledging the multifaceted reasons behind the conflict, including economic, political, and ideological factors, allows for a richer understanding of this transformative period in American history. By appreciating the complexities of colonial grievances and the broader historical context, we can better comprehend the significance of the Revolution and its lasting impact on the development of the United States. In this video, we have explored and debunked several prevalent myths surrounding the founding of the United States, shedding light on their implications for our understanding of U.S. history. We began by challenging the notion that the United States was founded as a Christian nation, emphasizing the secular foundations laid out in key documents like the Constitution. We also examined the misconception that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were entirely new ideas, highlighting the significant influence of Enlightenment thinkers and existing political philosophies on the founding generation. Furthermore, we clarified the timeline leading up to the American Revolution, addressing the complexities of identity and the gradual push for independence. We also tackled the belief that the American Revolution was primarily about preserving slavery, revealing the multifaceted motivations behind the conflict and the roles played by indigenous populations. Additionally, we discussed the misconception that the U.S. Constitution is without flaws, emphasizing the compromises made during its drafting and the importance of the amendment process in addressing its shortcomings. Lastly, we addressed the oversimplification of the causes of the American Revolution, highlighting the diverse grievances against British rule and the broader context in which these events unfolded. Understanding these myths and their implications is crucial for a more nuanced view of American history. We encourage you to engage with this content by subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others who may be interested in exploring these important topics. Your engagement helps foster broader discussions about our nation's past and its ongoing impact on our present and future. For those eager to delve deeper into American history, we invite you to explore our related content, where we cover various aspects of the founding era, the evolution of democracy, and the diverse narratives that shape our understanding of the United States. Together, let's continue to uncover the complexities of our history and appreciate the rich tapestry of experiences that define the American story.